Hello, I'm John Coleman from ApocatastasisInstitute, an Institute for the Humanities, an alternative college and high school here on New Milford, Connecticut, USA. The purpose of this broadcast is to see what Angela Malik is able to offer in terms of music at Apocatastasis, our latest addition to our collaborations. Up until now, we've done mathematical collaborations with Vandana Rataria and Adam Myers, with other skins as well. And today we have Angela Malik. So we're just going to run down a few basics about what Angela can offer. And she's certainly very well qualified. So, first of all, Angela, welcome.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. In the past, audience members and school uh, community members will of course have seen Angela at our St. Joseph the Worker conference last year, 2024, as of this recording, as well as some other broadcasts. Angela has spoken about music directly, as well as having participated with our chat with Dr. E. Michael Jones. So Angela's very, very kind to pop in and out of some of the recordings here at Apocatastasis. But Angela, the focus is on you, the floodlight is on you and your music. So tell us a bit about yourself, especially your professional background, please.
Well, I've been a musician, a singer for about 30 years. I went to Baylor University and Indiana University and then ended up studying a bit in Europe and returning to Europe in my professional career for almost a decade mainly Germany, but also sang in France and Switzerland. So a bit of an international career, which is really nice. I'm located in Houston, Texas now. My family is originally from Texas. So it's home for me after a long journey at school and in Europe and so forth. And I'm kind of toward the end of my career singing, but I still am continuing with teaching. In fact, that's going even stronger now. I teach a wide range of singers and styles, little children all the way up to retirees. And we work on, for example, I don't do so much pop music, but we might do some of the classical musicals. We do art song, sometimes music from church. People just say, I want to be able to sing in church. I want to be able to sing the Latin Kyriale. And I do specialize in chant. I spent the last 8 years or so studying chant at Clear Creek Abbey, which is a Benedictine monastery that focuses a lot on the beauty of the chant. They gave us our Libra Usuales, the solemn Benedictines. Yes, you're pointing to your Liber. So the useful book, as they call it. And with this new emphasis with Pope Leo on learning some of the traditional Latin Marian antiphons and chants, might be a good time to brush up on that. I can show you how to do the notation. Some of it's in the old notation, the square notes, and I know how to teach that. In fact, I do teach a course on vocalization of chant at Clear Creek Abbey in the summers, or have been anyway. I teach it also privately to my students, so you can learn it as a private discipline. All the way up to opera singing, which is what I did. So, pretty wide range of students and ages and styles of music. And also what's useful online is learning just the vast knowledge that a person picks up over the years. For example, my specialty was in 18th century music. So sometimes I'll teach a course on 18th century music. We call it Baroque music. Also workshops on chant, where it came from, how the notation system developed over years, music appreciation, which is how to listen to music. That's very important nowadays. Music theory, what do I see on the page? What is that funny looking clef thing? How do you know what note it is? I mean, just real basic stuff. So there's just a wide variety of things that you can do online. Since COVID, I guess we've kind of gone that direction. It's also an opportunity which is unique that we did not really have before, which is to work with people in areas of expertise, no matter where they live. I mean, I could be doing a video from Zimbabwe right now, it doesn't matter. And you can still take advantage of all the things that I've learned over the decades. So. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
And Angela, obviously, if one knows what they're after or what they're after for their children, then that's easy enough. But would you be able to, maybe for a parent or someone who they have an inkling of interest in music, where they cut to contact you, and that information will be down below in the description as well as on our website at the at ApocatastasisInstitute.wordpress.com, and the Restauratio Center where Angela's contacts will be. Um, would you be able to meet with people, maybe to help them as almost as a consultant, for a session to figure out what maybe their talents and their skills and their interests might be best used towards?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a acting as a consultant in a way, to say, based on your experience, should my child take music lessons? Um, are they gifted enough to move forward? Because there is that issue always of, what a person is born with. Some people just don't have it. For example, if you can't match pitch, that's pretty hard, especially on a video to teach. I have taken kids that had very poor pitch memory. They had a hard time matching pitch, bringing them all the way into successful singing, not as a career, but in singing and choirs and such like that. So it is possible, but sometimes you just need someone to say, well, maybe that's not their thing. Maybe more piano. Maybe they just don't have a musical gift. So an evaluation, I can certainly do that.
Great. And just by way of nuts and bolts, it's easier for you to teach in a more prosaic style with the internet technology than it is with singing lessons proper. And can you explain that because of whatever tech hiccups there may be with delays and things?
Well, applied music is learning to sing, and then everything else is, academic, so to speak. And coaching there's coaching and there's teaching. There are people who are professional singing coaches. They are pianists. They can sit down at the piano, they play your part for you, they teach you your part. That's a coach. That's something I can definitely do online by listening. But playing as you sing is, because of the delay, that's impossible. I think they've tried to deal with that in some kind of apps. I haven't found them yet, but I know during COVID, when they were trying to have rehearsals remotely, it's an issue, right? So that's not so great. It's not so perfect. I can listen to your voice if you have a recording there or someone playing for you there. But my playing for you and having you sing is an issue. Um, And as far as academic subjects, of course, that's not an issue at all. And when you have Zoom, you have a whiteboard where you can write things and you can show links, and we can simultaneously listen to a YouTube video and talk about it and things like that. So the sky's the limit. I think the main thing is, do you have interest in music, and do you want someone to kind of guide you through that, whether it be, professional voice coaching, all the way down to, can you show me how to read music, that kind of thing. So applied is definitely has its challenges. It has some limitations.
And are you able to meet in person? We're one to live in your neck of the woods in Texas. Would you be able to meet students in person at a library or whatever the case may be, a music studio, for in-person study?
I don't think a library would be a good place. But I have my
You're,
own
you're
studio.
talking to a history teacher here, so I
Yeah,
have different different how do you say geographical footprints when I need space. So you're right. So I'm sure there are more
yeah.
appropriate places.
Well, I have a studio in Friendswood, Texas, which is just south of Houston. So if you're in the Houston area, you can definitely meet with me here. I've got people coming from 45 minutes to an hour away for lessons, because Houston is very spread out. So yeah, definitely come to my studio if you live in the area. Also, if it's just a once in a while coaching, I mean, I myself as a student and as a young professional used to drive, several hours for a particular coach that I wanted. So that's not unheard of. It just depends on what your goal is.
And I think the final question here, Angela, before I kick it to you for any final things you'd like to bring up in this introductory recording, is maybe a broad thing, especially for parents,
Mhm.
or for people who, as adults, maybe didn't have a very strong musical background. What does this science, this study, this art, what does it add to life? Why, if I had a child that was coming up, why would music be advisable for them to have in their quiver, so to speak?
Well, it's a good question, and we're often asked this, or we just ourselves comment on it as musicians, as a way of getting people interested in music. And I just think philosophically and spiritually, music belongs to that special category. Um, it's something we can't physically touch. It's something that we listen to, and when we produce, once it's out in the ether, then it goes away, right? It's a performing art, and in terms of the church, it's a type of spirituality. Why do they sing in church when they could just speak the text? You know, even back to Hebrew times, they didn't speak the text; they chanted them. So it just goes way, way back as to um, the purpose of it. Why sing when you can speak? Why make music at all? There's some people who go their whole lives, they don't even like music, they don't listen to it. That's kind of rare. But there's also, I'd say, the vast majority of people who, other than children, who go their whole adult lives and they only listen passively to music. They never make it themselves. And that's kind of a new thing, because it used to be, and it still is in Europe, if you went to a tavern, they'd be singing all the time. If you went to a soccer game on the way back on the train, they sing, they sing, they sing. Of course, in church, people sang and they knew all the Latin chants and so forth. So singing was just part of society. If you watch Indian movies, for example, East Indian movies, there's singing and music all the way through it. It's just part of life. But in American society, in our culture, we've really lost that. We've become passive with music. And what have we lost? Well, it's incalculable what we've lost, you know? So, you can start tomorrow changing that. You can buy a keyboard or a piano and start your kids on lessons. You can, go to church and start picking up the hymnal. I know in my church, in Catholic churches, people often just sit passively and don't sing, which is a shame because we do really beautiful music in my church. Um, it's just a moment away to go from being passive to being active, and sometimes you just need a motivation, like taking a course with someone like myself who just kind of motivates you and gets you interested in it. But philosophically, music is part of the universe. It's part of spirituality. In fact, it's intrinsic to those things. You can't separate it out. Music. It's that spiritual aspect of our lives that we're probably all looking for. It's a way to connect ourselves to that which is divine. So I would say it's of utmost importance. I have a student's parent who came and sat here in my studio and really kind of shocked me. She said, "Well, there's music is the most important thing. There's like music and there's eating and drinking and staying alive." And for her, she made it a part of her essential life. And she's no one in terms of, she didn't grow up with music necessarily. She's not a musician herself, but somehow she made that connection. And so she said, "Just tell me when you want my child here, because it's that important to me. I want all my children to be involved in music. It's essential." Right? And we used to understand that as a culture, and we should return to it.
Excellent. Yes, there's so much culturally we could spin off a whole show, and perhaps someday we shall. But especially for Americans, with our great Protestant heritage, the Protestant hymnody, it is remarkable. And to say nothing of our folk tradition and some other musical traditions, it is remarkable in so-called postmodernity, how much various life skills have fallen off the cliff, including singing, and all sorts of other things as well. So, restauratio, apocatastasis, these words are ultimately, they mean restoration, whether in the Latin or the Greek, and that's what we're all about here. So let's brush off those vocal cords. Absolutely. So what would be some final points, Angela, about about your teaching that you'd like to bring up, maybe contact information, if people had questions about tuition or some other points. Any final points? Of course, people can contact Angela at the email below as well.
Yeah, the email is probably the best way to do that. The lessons are generally an hour. And if you're interested, just contact me and we can talk about rates and times and things like that. Situations, if this just kind of spurs one on to think about possibilities. I have people who come to me, for example, whose child wants to audition for something. And they'll say, we'd like to take 4 lessons and work on that. I've got kids that have all-state competitions, that have musicals. They want to be, do a role in a musical. They want to join the choir. They want to, get the voice brushed up, maybe learn a piece. So there's all kinds of reasons for it. If you're retired, maybe you just always love music, but you don't know much about it. You'd love to be able to listen to a Beethoven symphony and understand it a little bit better. Maybe that's interesting to you. So these are just some of the situations that might spur you on to give me a call. That's the kind of customers that I get in my studio.
Excellent. Great. So this is a great and exciting collaboration with us at the RestuaratioCenter at Apocatastasis, and Angela is certainly very, very well qualified in her avocation there. So I do hope people who are interested in music lessons in various capacities and various ages, as Angela's made clear, will certainly contact herself. So to the audience, thank you for your consideration there, and to our students as well. And then Angela, especially, thank you for giving us this rundown as to your various skills that you offer.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing that from everyone.